in my hands is the most popular low-profile keyboard out right now, and it's finally gotten upgraded. So the Nuphy Air V2 came out 2 years ago in 2023, and it's been at the top of most best low-profile keyboard lists since then, despite its many shortcomings. Now, Nuphy is back with the V3, and this time, they might have actually nailed it. So in my last low-profile keyboards video, I actually told you to avoid buying outdated low-profile keyboards, including the Air V2. It has a hollow sound and a super stiff typing feel compared to more updated, thinner keyboards. But despite those issues, people kept buying the Air V2 for its reliability, its portability, and its compatibility with Mac and Windows. And for most people, that was enough. Now, with newer budget options and keyboards that just sound way better, the Air V2 isn't really worth buying anymore. But can its shiny new upgrade, the Air V3, reclaim the throne, or is it a little too late? So when I first took the Air V3 out of the box, I could tell they had changed something big. The weight was noticeably heavier than the previous model, and after weighing it, I knew my intuition wasn't wrong. The V3 weighs a whopping 726 grams and is 124 grams heavier than the V2. Now it's still portable, but we'll have to see if its weight increase is worth it. After all, low-profile keyboards are meant to be lightweight since you want to be able to take them places. So what did they change? Because from the outside, the design looks nearly identical. You still have a metal frame all the way around with a plastic bottom housing. However, the metal frame looks much thicker than the original. It also has engraved labels rather than printed, so it won't scratch off or wear away. There's still dual angle kick-up feet on the back. You've got 2 strips of RGB on the sides. You've got toggle switches on the top right and a USB-C port on the left. So a lot of the same things. But here's the first difference. Now there's onboard dongle storage built into the case itself. This is a huge quality of life improvement for portable keyboards since having to keep track of your 2.4G dongle is very difficult. They're so small and so easy to lose. But before we move on, there's something we need to understand to get a clear picture of where the Air V3 actually stands. Right now, the top contenders for low-profile keyboards are the $99 Low Free Flow Lite that's leading the pack for ultra portability with its lightweight, volume scroll wheel, and thoughtky typing sound. But it sacrifices battery life to get there. Then, at the more premium end is the $159 Iquinix MQ80. It weighs a ton with a full aluminum build. It's got an impressive bouncy gasket mount. It sounds great, but it's just not portable at all. And somewhere in between is the Melgeek O2, sitting at $129, which was the best low-profile keyboard for Mac with a super satisfying and creamy typing sound, but it also has an ultra-long battery life. They each have their pros and cons, but against these odds, how does the Air V3 stack up? Did Nuphy upgrade its keyboard enough to compete, or was it all in vain? And if I were to pick only one low-profile keyboard to get, which one would it be? So with the built-in dongle storage that Nuphy added, they're slowly getting ahead of the others. The O2 and the MQ80 don't have it at all, and the Flow Lite does, but it doesn't feel quite as secure with half of the dongle sticking out of the plastic case. Can easily lose that still. So speaking of the backside, I found the second biggest difference between the Air V2 and the V3. The subtle design in the plastic case. Instead of being flush all the way around, they've now added indents for your fingers to slide in and just easily pick up your keyboard. A small yet convenient feature to have on a keyboard. Now you can see the last big addition that's contributed to the extra weight. A thick slab of silicone used to fill in the case and decrease its hollow sound. Compare this to the V2 that doesn't have that at all. So we'll have to investigate further because this might not be the only reason that the Air V3 sounds so much better than the V2. Here's the V2 and the V3. Big difference. Are you ever overwhelmed by how many AI tools there are? I am. That's why I'm excited to share Chat LLM Teams from Abacus AI. It puts all the top models such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, even open source ones in one place, and then it automatically picks the best model for your task, so you don't even have to think about it. You can use it to generate images and videos using tools like DALL-E, Ideogram, and Runway ML, all from a single window window. Do you need to pull info from a PDF, build a presentation, or make your AI text sound more human? With a press of a button, you can turn your AI-generated text into something that sounds like it was written by a human and give it the personality of your choice. Deep Agent can even help you build a website, an app, or a research report without you doing the heavy lifting. And it's just $10 a month, way cheaper than paying for each tool on its own. Check it out at chatllm.abacus.ai, links in the description and the pinned comment. Back to the video. Before we talk about the upgraded sound, let's address the elephant in the room, the knob that I haven't talked about yet. The Air V3 comes with a high-profile knob, a low-profile knob that wasn't included in my review unit but will be included in all commercial units, and an interchangeable module for a hot swap switch. If you're not a knob kind of person, you can do the switch, but I am. But the choice is yours. It's super easy to replace it. You take off the 3 adjacent keys, you use the included mini screwdriver for a single screw, and then install the other module that you want. Now, it works without any additional programming. It's sort of just plug and play. There is software you can use to customize it, but we'll talk about that later. So we all know that the Air V2 was quite lacking in terms of typing feel and sound, but the Air V3 has improved that quite a bit. Is that enough to put it ahead of the other top low-profile keyboards? First, let's test the gasket mount, because it has one now. Gasket mounts used to be reserved for the super premium keyboards of the world, but now they're much more common. They're on everything from budget keyboards to premium, just they're everywhere. Their purpose is to absorb unwanted reverberations, as well as give you a softer and a funner typing feel. Is funner still grammatically incorrect? I use it a lot. Instead of the stiff tray mount, there everything is screwed into the bottom, the V3 now has a decent bounce to it. I would put it on par with the Melgeek 02 and a little better than the MQ80 and the Flow Lite, which both feel a tad stiffer throughout the whole keyboard. Now, we all know sound is subjective, but there's this trend going on where everybody wants something called a creamy keyboard, a mix between thoughy and poppy, the ideal sound, a tad bit loud while also remaining low pitched. It's strange, but it is what it is. Now, in my Air V3 are the Nano Red switches. They're linear preloop switches made entirely of palm plastic, which is responsible for the low-pitched thok sound of the keyboard. All the other top low-profile keyboards also use all palm switches, so this is relatively common. The Air V3 offers 2 more switch types, the Brown Nano, which is a tactile with a bump, and the Blush Nano, which is a silent linear switch, which I would have loved to try out since I know most people are going to buy the keyboard just because there's a silent option. They're so rare nowadays, but if you want me to scour the internet and find all the silent keyboards out there and see which ones are the best, comment that down below. Don't be shy. I read all of them. For some reason, I imagine silent keyboard lovers are like shy introverts, but if I'm wrong, let me know. So, the Air V3 sound is louder than its competitors, but also a bit higher pitched too. It's still satisfying, but if you're looking for something a bit more muted with a lower pitch, then the Sunlight switches from the Melgeek 02 steal the show. Nuphy's also nailed their stabilizers, so this keyboard needs 0 mods. It's nothing impressive considering almost 0 keyboards need mods nowadays, but I just thought you should know. It's not bad. It's pretty nice, especially the spacebar. So they've improved the sound, the feel, the build quality. But what about battery life? Without a long battery life, your nice keyboard suddenly just turns into a hassle, into a paperweight, something that's burdening you constantly by asking you to charge it. And that was something the Air V2 wasn't that great at, with only 220 hours of battery life between charges. Now, it's not a little, but it sure isn't a lot. Now here's where things get really interesting. The Air V3 has double the battery of the V2 at 4,000 milliamp hours instead of 2,000. So does it have double the battery life? On their sales page, they're saying it can reach up to 1,200 hours on Bluetooth, which is almost 5.5 times the battery life. That's insane. That's like 8 months without a charge. So I'm gonna try and test that. But I don't have 8 months, so we'll be doing a smaller scale test. Right now, my Air V3 is at 83% battery connected with Bluetooth to my Mac, which is what my Mac is telling me. So when comparing battery life, we prefer to do it without RGB to level the playing field. So I'll be turning off my backlight, but there's no way to turn off the RGB bars, so yes, I can't turn that off. I will also not be manually turning off and on the keyboard when I leave it at night. I'll just let it auto sleep, but if you're the type who hates waiting for your keyboard to wake up, there is a key combination to turn auto sleep off as well, but it will drain the battery more. Compared to the competition, the Air V3 is supposedly pretty impressive. The MQ80 has only 350 hours of battery life. The Flow Lite has only 80 hours. Oh my gosh, it's so low. It's barely a week of use. And the O2, on the other hand, is an interesting one. It claims 3,300 hours of battery life, but it only has a 2,500 milliampere hour battery. How is that possible? On their sales page, they do state that 3,300 is the longest hours they've ever achieved in their R&D lab. I would love to do some real life testing, but there's just no time and no equipment. A couple years ago, a couple other keyboard creators and I toured the Cherry MX factory, and they have machines that would just continuously pound on keyboards to see how long the switches last. I wonder if you need something like that to test the battery life. Just keep pounding it until it dies. But anyways, 1,200 hours, 8 months with no charge. Now you're talking my language. Charging tech has been the bane of my existence lately. That's why I stopped wearing my Apple Watch to switch to an analog watch instead. So by the end of this week, I'll let you know where my battery life is at, and we can extrapolate that into the future to estimate the total battery life. Sounds legitimate? Now, I am a science person, so it bothers me that it's not the best test, but it is the best test that I can do right now. But if you give me 8 more months and I try to use this keyboard as much as I can, I'll let you know in a members only video. Hopefully. So far, the Air V3 looks like it's holding up well against the competition. But is it convenient to use day to day? How is it to connect and toggle between devices and wake up from sleep? Does it take forever? Unlike all the aluminum premium keyboards nowadays, where the toggle switches are underneath the weirdest of places like caps lock, the space bar, the shift key, the Air V3 decides to actually have real toggle switches. You just slide it to whatever setting you want. You do Windows or Mac. You want wireless? You got it, boss. Boom. No keyboard combination. Just toggles. That's what we like to see. Now the Flow Lite and the O2 both have a single toggle for off, wired, and wireless. It's convenient, but if I wanted to switch between Mac or Windows, I'd have to go look into the manual for a key combination. The MQ80 is even worse, despite being the more premium, more expensive option. It has 0 toggles and everything is done via key combinations. And the on-off switch is underneath the caps lock key. And you can't even do it with your fingernails. The toggle is so small, you literally need tweezers to do it. So from a convenience standpoint, turning on and off and connecting via the Nuphy Air V3 is very good. Good job, Nuphy. To connect wirelessly, you go to wireless, then press F1, 2, or 3 to connect to Bluetooth, and Fn and 4 to connect to the 2.4G dongle. Now, I've had a couple issues with the Bluetooth connectivity, but I think that's pretty inherent with Bluetooth. One time I had to forget and reconnect the device to my Mac, actually twice, 2 times now. Since then, it's been able to connect itself when it wakes up when I arrive to work in the morning, and it takes a couple seconds. I think it takes about 4 to 5 seconds. As far as the layout goes, the Air V3 has a typical 75% layout. It's compressed together like all the other keyboards we have here. And while using it, there's nothing that I wish I could do. When I was using the O2, it was missing the screenshot button, and that sort of sucked. Was it worth it to trade in the screenshot button for the bigger delete? I don't think so. But there's a single key on my Air V3 that I honestly have no idea what it does. And I think it does nothing. Well, I was checking a key tester tool. I think it does nothing. So I'll check with the software later. But with the more compact 75% layout, it means there's more missing keys. What if you want to delete and insert instead of page up and page down? That's where software comes in. For some people, this is where keyboards live or die. Most people want software that's lightweight, easy to use, and intuitive. The previous Air V2 checked all those boxes with a browser-based open source software called VIA, which made it pretty easy to edit key maps, RGB lighting, and create macros. All you had to do was connect your keyboard via a wire connection, go to caniusevia.com, you load in a JSON file, and off you go. It saves automatically as you're editing it. The MQ80 and most other premium keyboards also use VIA. However, the new Air V3 uses Nuphy's own browser-based software called Nuphy.io. It works in a similar way. You open the browser to Nuphy.io, you connect your keyboard, and you start editing. Now, I really do enjoy the software. I've used it on their previous keyboards like the Air 60 HE or the Kick 75. It's on par with VIA, it's super easy to learn, and it's just as convenient. But when I tried using it with the new Air V3, it didn't get recognized through the software yet. So I'm assuming that software is currently in beta now, and they just haven't updated it yet. Now, if you compare that to the more budget Flow Lite, which only has downloadable software, the Air V3 comes out a bit ahead. But not only is the Flow Lite software downloadable, but it's not even compatible compatible with Mac, so I couldn't even use it. The Metal Geek O2 is slightly better with downloadable software that's compatible with all the operating systems, Mac, Linux, and Windows. Plus, their software looks good. It tells you the battery life remaining on the keyboard, it lets you update the firmware and do all the other keyboard things. It's good software, but it does have to live on your computer. So if software is your thing, most of these keyboards are going to fit the bill. So if all of these things on the Air V3 ticks the boxes for you, there's one more thing that could stop you from buying it. The final decision maker. Is it a good value? Compared to the Air V2 at $120, the Air V3 is $20 more at $140, and that's not chump change. At that price point, it's only $10 away from the all-aluminum Iquinix MQ80, and it's $20 over the Metal Geek O2, which has a lot of the same features. Now, the Flow Lite doesn't really compete well against these keyboards, even at the $99 price, unless your main priority is ultra portability. It does sacrifice build quality, better life, and even software to do that. So the final decision, where will the Air V3 stand? If you want the most premium low-profile experience ever, but you don't care about portability or battery life, you get the MQ80. So you do care about portability and not the battery life, you get the low free flow Lite. But what if you care about everything? What if you want a little bit of everything? You want good sound, good battery life, good software, good usability. Wait. Back it up. Speaking of battery life, how did it go? After about 3 days, we went from 83% to 70%. That's about 50 hours for 13%, with a bunch of inactive periods like sleep, lunch breaks, and non-working hours. And if we extrapolate that to 100%, that means the battery life of this keyboard is 389 hours, or about 400 hours. So it's not the 1200 hours like they claimed, which is a bit disappointing. It's better than the Flow Lite and the MQ80, but I would love to see how they got 1200 hours. But upon research, I realized that my Mac might be a little bit inaccurate, so I'll let you know after a couple more weeks what my battery's at. But so far, the Air V3 is ahead on most fronts. But wait, I think we just got the Low Free Flow 2 in the mail. I wonder how they compete with each other. If you want the sound test, here it is. Oh, that knob falls down all the time.